My name is Russel Garnett. I am a program coordinator here at the United States Holocaust Memorial Museum, and I work with our law enforcement audiences in our division Law and Justice Initiatives. I've chosen this photo here that has a German police officer and a member of the SS who's been deputized as an auxiliary police. They're patrolling the streets, and this photo was taken March 5th, 1933. And one of the main reasons why I chose it is because this right here is the start of that slippery slope that police officers go down to go from being neutral professionals to being complicit to then being perpetrators. And this photo was taken 1 week after the burning of the Reichstag building, which was the German parliament. And looking at it, you may ask yourself, what does a police officer bring to this partnership? He brings trust. He brings legitimacy. He brings authority. He brings knowledge of the job, knowledge of the community. The people know him, and he knows them. He knows the area. And we also may think, how does he benefit? When Hitler comes into power, Hitler knows that the police are underpaid, underpowered, and undermanned. So he's getting more resources. He's getting an extra body, an extra person out there with him. They're getting raises. They're also gaining more power, at this time. And you often ask, what are his choices? What can he do if he doesn't like this partnership, right? He can quit, but that's a bit hard because there's a global depression going on. So, there aren't jobs that are coming by easily. He can complain. He can, complain up the chain. That's something he can do. He can ask to be transferred. But most went along with it and went along and worked with these guys, even though just months prior, the police and the SS, their relationship was adversarial. The police were arresting these guys in the streets during elections because these guys were beating up people. Another thing about this photo, this is also another photo during a new election. Hitler's coming into power, and he wants to show that he's a man of his word, and they're bringing more law and order. Also, again, as I said, 1 week after the burning of the Reichstag, this photo was in the newspapers to demonstrate order in the streets, because if we're looking at the people behind them, they don't look afraid. There's not chaos, anything like that. So this is something that comes out and shines from this photo. Now, when we just think of this, when you look back at that photo, you see that dog, boom, muzzled, eyes glaring right at you. Thing is it's scary, right? It's something that you would think people walking down the street, they're afraid. They would be afraid of this, and that the police would be using this as a scare tactic. But that's not the case with this. They weren't necessarily using that. But when I asked the question to any audience that I show this photograph to, that right there, it stands out to them because it feels unusual to have that dog, patrolling the streets, and if it's something that's supposed to be normal. I regularly work with police forces in Washington, D.C., the FBI, NYPD, and when I share this photograph with them, I go over a series of questions with them. I ask them, what's the ordinary function of the police officer in this image? And often their responses are, patrolling, show of force. The police are showing their presence. This is what they would do. This is something ordinary. When I ask the question, how are things changing for the police officer in this image? They're now working alongside, in partnership with the Nazi Party. That's something that's changing. And the impact of that is they're now beginning to legitimize the SS and the Nazi Party. That's what comes from this image right here. Because, again, this is very early on. Like, when you think to yourself, what comes to mind when you think of the Holocaust? Most people are thinking of what happens towards the end. They're thinking of the concentration camps, the ghettos, genocide. This is in 1933. Hitler was appointed chancellor in January of 33. This is in March, well before what generally comes to mind when we think of the Holocaust.